Hello everyone. Today we have a console Diamond 2 honor review. We don't get the opportunity to do a whole lot of console reviews here, so let's just get this intro right over with and get right into this footage. Alright, so I'm going to start the review here because I feel like the fighting before this wasn't really conductive to learning anything. You had a Winston playing into the Roadhog and it was pretty difficult for you to even see him, let alone keep him alive, so we're not going to go over any of that. We're just going to start the replay here. I do want to talk just briefly about how to play into this hog-to-hog matchup with your support line. And so you have Ana Zin, which is obviously really good against Hog, and they have Kiriko Alari, which is really good with Hog. And so it does kind of cancel each other out. But what you're looking to do is trying to land abilities on this Hog that are going to be able to stick. So if they're going to be able to cleanse right away, it's usually not worth it. The exception is when you're using ability specifically to get cleanse out. So what I like to do, and it's a lot harder now that Hog's heal is on a resource meter and not on an 8-second cooldown, is that you can sleep him to get the cleanse out. If their Hog is in danger and you sleep him, they'll cleanse, and then you can use your anti to try and get the kill, because your anti is now a much more powerful tool than sleep is, whereas like in the past it was kind of equal. Anti would just prevent him from using the heal in general, and sleep would be able to cancel his heal and he'd be on an 8-second cooldown. But yeah, you're just looking to get abilities onto their Hog that aren't going to get immediately cleansed unless that's like what you're trying to do on purpose. But let's just get into this. I've watched the first half. I have my thoughts on it, on like what you can do better already, and I'll be pointing them out. Yeah, let's just get right into this. You know they have a Widow, so you're going to want to be careful with where you play. Nice sleep. So you do mention your mechanics. Obviously this is console, so we're not expecting, you know, quite as crisp of aim, and you did say you may have a little stick drift, which I understand. But I do want to point out, and I'll point out a bunch of examples of this in the video. It might be hard for you to hit a lot of these shots because you're like really close and you're not scoped in, right? And so the thing is, if you're really close, you don't want to scope in, obviously, but if you're farther back, if you're positioned farther away and you scope in, it's much easier to hit these shots because they move much less relative to where you are, right? So just pretend you're trying to heal some, like a Tracer who's like literally right next to you and she's strafing. She's going to be moving across your entire screen. And so when you're trying to heal these squishy targets close up, it's pretty difficult no matter who you are because they're moving so much on your screen relative to where you are. Whereas if you're farther back, I think it might solve your issue entirely. I do want to know, I'm not sure what we're nading there. Are we, and you know, maybe we're going for the Hog, but in this Hog against Hog matchup, your nade is like one of probably the second most important cooldown on the entire field right now, with cleanse being the most important. And so we really want to save that for when we can get value out of it, right? So cleanse here, you know, it almost looks like a misclick, but we just want to make sure we're using that. We're not only focused on hitting the Hog, right? We're focused on hitting the Hog when our team can follow up on it and actually make something out of it. So it's not just enough to hit the Hog, right? We're in Diamond. We need to focus on getting these abilities timed to where we can actually do something with it. So I'll try and keep track of that in the future and see how we work with that nade in the sleep. Nice try on the sleep there. I do want to say one thing we can notice here is that our Ashe gets hooked and goes down to critical, right? And I know we're trying to land the sleep, but the Ashe just flies past you on critical. Your Zen has already died in this fight, and then you never turn around and see what's going on with Ashe. And so it ends up being okay. Your Ashe lives, but she's just like waiting to get healed. She basically just can't go back in and fight, and you even saw her go past you on critical. So if you could, I mean, right, you've already used your sleep, you can't heal your Hog. While you're backpedaling, just turn around and put 2 shots into your Ashe, and then she can get back in there and start fighting as well. Your Hog loses the Hog v Hog battle. It happens. I do want to talk briefly. I don't know about anyone else when they watch this, but when I watch this part right here, Tracer just blinking and running at you in a straight line, the first thing I thought of was pulse bomb. And that brings me to one of my points that if you want to improve further, one of the things I would start working on, and it's not obvious by anyone's gameplay that they're doing this, but it's ult tracking. And you don't have to ult track everyone, but what I like to do is I track the enemy tank and both enemy DPS. Usually it's just 3 ults, and you can start with just one, right? You can start with just the tank or just, you know, just the tracer this game. But you want to think about these things so that when tracer has pulse, you can be ready to react to that. So you're not caught with your pants down, so to speak, when she wants to come in and pulse bomb you. And it's just much easier. Even like, right, you can't do anything about pulse bomb. That's not like, if she sticks you with pulse bomb, you're dead and none of your cooldowns are going to change that. But if you know she has pulse bomb, you can make it much harder for her to get to you if you're trying to poke her out early or you're trying to strafe differently. And so it's especially important with like Hoggle. If you land asleep on that, it's huge. Widow ult, I wouldn't even track. It's not even worth it. But when they'll switch to other DPS later in the game, and then it will be worth it to track. So that's just something I want you to think about. If you're not already doing it, just try and do it with like one person at a time. And ask yourself after every fight, did they use their ult this fight? And if the answer is no, you can usually just assume they have it. This isn't always going to work, but it is like a safe way to start ult tracking until you get more comfortable with it. But it will change the quality of your games, especially like if they have like an Ashe and, you know, she's going to bob you. You have to have your sleep for that. And if you just throw out your sleep randomly, or like you're trying to sleep the hog without really like a purpose in mind, and then they bob, you're just going to be absolutely kicking yourself. So I don't know if you're already doing this or not. It's pretty hard for me to tell. You know, I tried to skim through and see if you were already doing this, but I couldn't really figure it out. So if you're not already doing this, I would start doing this. It's going to really help your gameplay. And I don't really recommend ult tracking that much to anyone under diamond, because usually there's like a lot to focus on other than ult tracking still then. We're using ults when our tank's not alive. Not, you know, don't love it. Our tank is still not here. There we go. Now we have a real fight. And this fight's kind of going on and we're not really doing anything, right? I mean, we've healed, but we haven't used any of our abilities. We had no impact on whether this hog lived or died. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. Just make sure you're looking for opportunities, you know, to get your value, to use your cooldowns. Nice try on the sleep. I love that you don't dump your nade super early, because then she's just going to recall. And sometimes it's worth it to get the recall out. But usually, especially if she's like threatening you, right? That time she wasn't, but if you're like dueling the tracer, you want to try and hit her with a shot or two before you use nade. Because if you use nade, she's going to recall and then have a really easy 1v1 with you after, where the only thing you have is sleep. And so you're really trying to put pressure on her before you have to use your nade. This is a great position. I absolutely love sitting up here. You have cover on all sides of you. You do have to be careful. They've switched Tracer to Echo. You should realize this by now. You may not know which DPS they switched, but you can actually also see the Sojourn up top. And it looks like, yeah, Widow to Sojourn. But Echo is pretty scary for you. Basically, the sticky bombs are really easy to hit on an Ana that's scoped in, and they will just basically kill you. And it's pretty easy for her to get on top of you. So I like to put a lot of pressure on Echo. I'll prioritize putting 1 or 2 shots into the Echo before I even heal my team. So that way she knows she can't just fly on me and insta-kill me basically when I'm trying to heal. But yeah, great position. I like your nano as well. Okay, your team gets the payload. Before we watch the rest of this fight, I'm going to mention real quick about the Echo. So your play is fine. You know, if you don't feel confident taking that duel, I get it. And I don't remember if you had nade or not during this. No, you didn't. Yeah, so there's our nade, and that's a good nade, by the way. That's a great nade. Even if, you know, you don't really know at this point if they have cleanse or not, but they probably don't. They've been fighting for a while. And so I know the nade doesn't hit, but if it does hit on that hog, it's going to be really impactful. And you threw it right where he was. I'm really surprised that doesn't hit. It looked pretty good to me. But yeah, this Echo is one shot. And so as long as you stay unscoped, she's not going to land all of her stuff on you, and you just have to hit one shot. But it is okay. It's also okay, like, if you're not comfortable with your mechanics, to just run away from that. That's fine too. Good reaction. And again, your team pretty much cleaned this up. You didn't really hit any abilities. You didn't really do anything. I mean, you healed and you stayed alive. And I will say staying alive is like the #1 thing as a support. And I will coach this always to anyone. Staying alive is the most, like, the first thing that you have to get under your belt is staying alive. But we do need to be looking for more value, like more impact, because right now our team is winning this game without us. Basically, even, you know, we could put Joe Schmo Gold 4 Ana here, and while he wouldn't be as good as you, he might be good enough to just win this game with him because your team's just kind of doing all the work. All right, gonna skip ahead. There wasn't really anything to look at. The pillow's just been moving and the enemy's been staggering. Nice trying the sleep again. We always want to be trying to land our sleep on that ult. It's okay that we don't hit it. The more that we hit it, you know, the better it's going to be, but the attempt is kind of the thing that I'm looking for. You can always improve your mechanics no matter how good you are, and you already know that. I know you talked about that. Just the attempt to do that is good. I can't tell if you were like waiting on this sleep, because there really hasn't been anything for you to sleep, right? So you're going to have this sleep whether you're ult-tracking or not. You just want it to be intentional more often than not, right? You're holding it because you know he's going to use this soon. And I'm not saying you can only use sleep when someone's ulting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you know they have these ults that you can sleep, you want to try and save it for that. This is our first bigger mistake, I would say, is that we weren't able to keep our hog alive here. And so the thing is that we have our nade the whole time, and we're just a little slow to recognize what we can do with it. So, you know, I think it was a pretty tough position to try and hit both hogs, right? There's a pretty good amount of distance, and that's probably your only shot right there is this hook to land the nade here. But your hog is going to get blown away pretty quickly, right? But if we recognize that we can land this nade here a little bit quicker, then we can keep our hog alive. We can potentially also anti their hog, which is a huge, you know, huge play. Their hog will die if you hit an anti here. I mean, he's probably going to die anyways. You're probably still going to win this fight. But yeah, we could keep our hog alive there for sure with that nade. Also, there's something going on in your left ear the whole time. I don't know if you're paying attention to this, but I'm going to go back 10 seconds and you'll be able to hear it. Just listen to the left side and see if you can tell what's going on. And what I want to say about it is that if you can tell it's going on and you choose to focus on the hog v hog, that's okay. But if you had no idea it's going on to the left of you, then it is a problem because our awareness isn't high enough to be using these sound cues like mid-fight. And so if you're not going to be able to recognize what's going on, you're going to need to take positions that are slightly farther back so that you can see everything instead of relying on what you're hearing. But just listen in your left ear for now. Right, you heard it, right? Now if I actually zoom out and look, Sombra's up here, just kind of playing games with our Ashe. And if the Sombra is a little better, right? If the Sombra is a little better, our Ashe is already dead. And so luckily, the Sombra is not better and our Ashe lives. But once our hog dies, we should have already known that they were fighting to the left of us. We should have been able to pick that out. And then we look left and we try and save our Ashe, or we try and kill the Sombra. So, right, if their Sombra is a little better, our hog dies here and our Ashe dies. And then we probably are going to like just lose the fight. We might even lose this fight anyways. I think it's going to be a 3v4 here. But we'll see if we can bring it back. This is the first time where like mechanics really was an issue. I would say all the other times it wasn't really a problem. This time, obviously, it's a little annoying. And sometimes it happens. We just whiff a couple times. I definitely am guilty of whiffing a couple times. But I think this comes back to what I was saying earlier in the first round, right? Look at how close we are. I know we're close because we want to hit her, right? And it makes sense. If we're close, she'll be bigger on our screen and easier to hit. But look at her strafing. Look how much she moves across your screen. It's actually just hard to hit this, even this close. So it's easier if we're just back a little bit. I know there's a Sombra, but if we're back a little bit, we have better angles and we can scope in. Scoping in is huge on Ana, and then hit those shots and actually keep her alive. So also the problem with being right here to try and heal the Ashe is pretty obvious, right? I mean, look at this Sojourn. You can be healing the Ashe from so many safer places. Okay, not so many, but a couple safer places where it's harder for this Sojourn to hit you. But we're right up here because we're trying to save her. And I get what you're going for, but your positioning is the biggest thing I've noticed so far. We're really in these fights. We're really close. Ana is a sniper. There are situations where you need to be close. And this game is one of those situations, right? They had a Tracer at the start. You don't want to be like super isolated against a Tracer. They have a Sombra now, but you need to be farther than this. You need to be close enough to get help, but far enough away you can actually hit your shots. Looks like we are probably going to lose this, right? Yeah. Wow, very close, but we did lose. That's okay. On to the next fight. Yeah, not too much to say about this. I think you already know everything I'm thinking. It's good every once in a while to get a reminder that DPS are made to kill things, and we're not really made to kill things, although we can. And it's just not in our advantage to duel right there, right? So she was getting support. I don't know if you could tell, but you hit her a couple times and she was still full health. Like someone was looking at her and helping her. Right? You see her health bar go back up? So even if we're landing consistent shots there, it's very unlikely she dies. I think after you miss the sleep, it's like, all right, let's move on. But not gonna linger on this. You already know what happened. Our team wins the fight without us again. And that is the third fight, I believe, that our team has won, and we didn't really do anything. You know, we didn't really... We're kind of just getting carried. And that's okay, it happens, but I just want to point it out. Good nade, great nade. Hopefully they don't have cleanse. But either way, it's a good, even if they have cleanse, it's a good nade. It puts some real pressure on their hog. They have to back up. It also hit the Sombra. We need to be looking for more of those nades, a lot more. I also think I just heard the Sombra sound cue, right? Is she back here somewhere? Wonder what I heard. I'm gonna go back 5 seconds. Maybe she was. No, she was to our right. Okay. Our hog dies. I'm not sure there's too much we can do about that. We can take a wider angle here, but it's, you know, it's not like inherently a good position. I don't love being out here. And someone's got to push the cart, which is usually your job. Reaper goes back and does it now, but our hog is kind of out there in the middle of nowhere fighting 4 people. I would not say that's something we are supposed to deal with. This is scary though. And why is this scary? Well, pretty obvious reasons. And what can we do about it next time? Right? We just don't need to be here. We just don't need to be here. We can be in safer positions. So even if you wanted to be close to this fight, you can still at least use the payload or use this corner or some way where you're not caught in this position. Right? Like, where's our nearest cover? Not very near. It's not that close to us, right? Anywhere we can go, the hog can go as well. One more thing about this. I know we're just in stay alive mode right now, but we can hit the hog with this anti as well. We can. It won't really do anything in this specific fight. Like, he's nanoed with full health. We don't have kill pressure, no matter what you do to him. But we can hit him with this, and it's a good habit to try and hit multiple people because eventually you'll be in fights where it does matter. And then you'll already have that reflex built up to where I'm not just throwing it directly at my feet. I'm throwing it in between me and him because I know the range is big enough to hit both, right? Nice trying the sleep. That is a sleep that we're going to want to hit at a pretty good frequency, at a pretty high frequency. So yeah, mechanics are definitely a thing. We are going to need to work a little bit on them. But I don't think your mechanics are terrible, especially for console. I think this is fine. We just have a couple times where it is frustrating. But the thing is with this fight, why I wouldn't beat yourself up too much is you're probably not winning this fight anyways. I know it's 4v4 and I know we have some ults, but I mean, look at what's going on. They have nanoed hog on 3 of our players, and these players, after you miss that sleep, have no real way to deal with them. So we get out of there. That's good. It's good for us to get out. Nice try. I think you were aiming for the Sombra and your teammate just ate the nade. I hate it when that happens. It happens all the time. So definitely don't beat yourself over that. But it's good to try and get that to your teammates. We have a Zarya now. It doesn't change the way that we play, right? We don't care if it's a Zarya or a Hog. We're just trying to hit nades on both of the tanks, right? So it doesn't really matter. Alright, what happened here? Right? Let's think about it. Let's go back, let's watch it one more time. Let's figure out what we could have done to live. Alright, it's already happened, right? You saw it. This was the problem, right? We were just in it too long. And it's gonna make it so that we can't do anything. And I don't think we get our nade back in time. Oh, we do have our nade. We could splash it, but yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate. We don't really have a good path out of that sojourn. I don't even remember what the ability is called. Vortex, maybe? Some type of something. But yeah, we die. It's not the most criminal death. It's not a huge misplay, but it is something that we probably could have avoided. Okay. So I wasn't really paying that much attention to the fight, because what I was hoping to see, right, is that you can just sit back in this position, right? You can just stay here. You have great vision of pretty much everything. Unless, like, if you're, okay, here's the thing. If your team is walking here, if your team is here, and the cart is there, it's not really your problem. I get that you want to do something about it. And if you notice your team is like getting real aggro and getting in there, then you're going to start walking up. But this is great. Honestly, this is great. As long as we're aware that like Sombra will come after us after some amount of time, this is a perfect position and we don't really need to walk up. And so I think we were planning on just going all the way up to the cart like we have been over and over again. But when we get EMP'd, we're kind of like, well, maybe we can just walk back again, right? And so we walk back. I do want to say, we have multiple abilities here, and if we're farther back, right? Look at this EMP range. We're out of that. We can be out of that. And especially if you knew they had EMP, if you were tracking EMP, and you're like, I can play out of EMP, guess what we could have done? We sit back. We have Nano here, right? We can Nano our Zarya. We can Nano our Blossoming Reaper. I mean, Reaper doesn't really need it. He doesn't even get hit by it. He does need it, right? We could have Nanoed either of them, and they could have lived, or even got like extra kills. And instead of being in this 3v4, where we lost our tank and our, you know, our big DPS, we could be in a 4v3, where only one of those 2 people has to die, or even none. Even none. Maybe you could have saved both of them, right? Maybe you could have Nanoed the Reaper and naded the Zarya. So it is a huge thing, right? We can really improve. And it's exciting that there's still so much to improve on, even in Diamond, right? And it's just time to get out of here. Yep. It's time to leave. Deja vu, 50 health, hoping a Sombra doesn't show up on our doorstep. It's good to get out there. Nice sleep. Not sure if it was luck or not, but you hit it, and that's all that matters. Your Zen did peel for you, which is going to be a problem for the rest of your team, right? Like, oh, this is not conductive to winning a fight, but at least you dealt with what you had to deal with. And right, you had to deal with this. So it's good that you did. I hope you're thinking about it, right? They have a Sombra. You've been hacked multiple times. You've even been killed in the back line next to your teammates by a Sombra. So it should be something you're thinking about. But good on you. You dealt with it the correct way. That was good. All right, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Let's go back one more time. Like, right? What am I going to say? You get it, right? I don't have to say anything, right? Right? Okay. I'm not going to say anything because I believe that you understand probably what not to do, right? We probably don't need to be here. We're a little too close. So because we're too close, right? I don't know if we live or not yet, but we're going to get hit by all sorts of stuff that we have no business getting hit by. Right? Just random stuff that we don't need to be getting hit by. Yep. Our team loses that fight anyways. I'm not sure there's much we can do about that fight. Let's go back, watch it one more time from like a kind of behind perspective and see if we were farther back and not in as much danger. Is there anything we can even do? Because there probably wasn't. As soon as 4 or I think 3 people on your team came back here for this Sombra, what happened was your Zarya was just so far out there with no real path back home. Right? This would have been the first time that we could see her. So even if we're back here, and this is probably too far now, right? Too far. But even if we're a little bit closer, playing with cover, this was the first time we can even see her. She gets hit by the anti, and it's going to be pretty hard for us to do anything about that fight. But maybe it's winnable. Who knows, right? Instead, we're trying to barrel stuff. And I'm not really going to worry about the end here. I know that you said you wanted to switch to Lucio, and your stick drift made you switch to BAP. So I'm not too worried about it. This is just stalling garbage. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, let's just go over some of the stuff we did right in the first round and some of the stuff we didn't do right in the first round. And then I haven't watched the second round yet, so I don't know how the second round's going to go, but we're going to hope, some of the stuff that we talk about now gets fixed in the second round. Yeah, mainly the things that we're worried about are our positioning is the number one thing, right? We don't need to be inside of someone to heal them. And if it's a problem, like if you're this close to heal them because you're not confident you can hit them from farther away, then maybe Ana's not the pick, or maybe you just need to practice your mechanics. Go into some of these popular workshop codes. I'll put these codes on the screen. Try and work on our aim. Try and work on being more consistent so that we can play in safer positions and still hit these shots, because we don't want to be inside of our tank and taking all the damage that our tank should be taking instead. So that's the number one thing. I also think you can look for more opportunities to use your abilities. And so like I said, there's 3 fights where your team just won without you doing anything. And that's okay. We love it when that happens, right? But that's not going to happen very often. Like a lot of games like this, you're not going to have quite as good of a team, and you're going to get stuck on first or second point, and you're not even going to make it into the third point. And then the third thing is ult-tracking. If we ult-track, we know how to play better, right? If we know the Sombra has EMP, we can step back and we can save our teammates who get hit by EMP. If we know Tracer has pulse bomb, we can be more erratic with our movement. We can put pressure on her early, and we can make it hard for her to land that pulse bomb on us. A big example I like to use, if Pharah has a barrage, we can keep our eye out for Pharah, because every Pharah, basically ever, until you get to maybe the really high elos, and even then, they just love to flank with barrage. They just love it. And so they'll disappear for the fight for like 20 seconds, and you're like, gee, I wonder where Pharah is. And then you realize she has barrage. You turn around and you're dead because she barrages you from behind. Whereas if you knew it the whole time, you're ready for it. You have your sleep, right? So those are just some examples, some things we're going to look for. We are at roughly a half hour, so I am going to go through the second half quicker with less stopping, but I do just want to try and point out the things that are a continuous issue for us, and try and fix those things, right? The things that we're going to get the most value of the fastest. This is a good position here. We just need to make sure that if those DPS are looking at us from that high ground, that we're playing here, right? Safe. We're safe here. This could be good, you know, if they're not on the high ground, but we're in a good spot. Eventually we're gonna have to drop because it does get sketchy when this comes around the corner. Your whole team's on the ground. It's gonna be a real easy sightline. Like if this cart's not in the way, right? So we're gonna drop eventually, but it's a great place to start in. You're farther back. Hopefully we heard the sound cues, right? Those loud footsteps, super loud footsteps. Go, just 5 seconds back, we're gonna listen to it, and then I promise I'll play it through, but just use your ears on the right side. You hear it, right? And that could have been you. It wasn't, but it could have been, right? Could have been you. Very easily could have been you. But it very easily could have been you heard him, you were ready for him, and you slept him when he walked out of the tunnel. And so even if this hog played perfectly, even if he hit his hook on whoever he was aiming for, you could have stopped it, right? Just quick thing. Let's move on. The nade doesn't really do anything, but it is what it is. Our Rein is antied. There's nothing we can do there. We just need our Kiriko to cleanse. If our Kiriko does cleanse, we want to have our nade ready already to do something about that. And so that's when it maybe would be a problem that we use our nade earlier. If our Kiriko cleanses there, we can hit the nade on both tanks. Huge impact. Our Rein will be able to get healed super quick, and then their hog is going to have a much harder time with life. But the Kiriko didn't cleanse, so what can you do? Good nade. Those are the kinds we're looking for. Again, all I'm going to say is that we can be farther back. Same thing. It may not seem like that threatening of a position to you, but it just is. We have no cover. We have nothing here, right? And they have a hog. We're definitely in hook range. We're definitely in Ash's spray range. We're definitely in Sojourn slides up on the high ground and just demolishes us range. So find somewhere safer to play. There's 100 spots that you can be in. Good nade again. I want to keep seeing more nades like this. These are great. This is good, right? These abilities are good on the song because your team is able to follow up, right? When you used it earlier, there was no way anyone's going to be able to do anything. But this one, definitely good. We're chasing him. I know it's pretty obvious, but I just want to point out the good stuff we're doing too. Because you do a lot of stuff right to get to this elo. Perfect. That should allow a kill. Yep, and it does. That anti-facilitates a kill. Great. They switched to Bastion and Rein. Too close again, and then I just want to point out the sleep doesn't really do anything, right? So it might save you, and I'm not saying it's bad, but we don't have sleep for 14 seconds. That's basically what I'm saying. And if we do actually need it in the next 14 seconds, which we very much might, we might need it, we don't have it because we just used it like this. If we just weren't there in the first place, we wouldn't have to use our sleep. Too slow on the nade again. And you may even think that like there's no way I can hit that in time. You can. I promise you can. If you throw the nade when you see that happen, your nade might get there in time. And guess what happens if your nade gets there in time? You get Nano. You hit your Rein with Nano while he has your nade effect. Boom. Full health Rein. Nanoed fighting against their Nanoed Rein who has an anti-heal effect. Right? Huge. Like fight winning. Huge. So... good sleep. Yeah, and you just kind of gotta wait. Unfortunately, Alari's headhunting you. I don't know if we even realized that was going on, but it doesn't matter if we realized that was going on. We probably weren't able to do anything about that either way, so. Okay. I was gonna say something about how we can use our abilities earlier here and get this kill. We're gonna get the kill either way, but right, we can sleep, we can ante, we can let him not get back to his team basically. But yeah, we hit the ante. I'm very fine with this Nano. I do want to say one thing about the Nano is that sometimes it's nice to hold off on the Nano and wait until like your tank gets low health. Not all the time, right? And this matchup's not great because if he gets low health, he might get antied and then the Nano doesn't heal him. But in general, I like to let the fight run as long as I can. And when my tank is getting really low, what happens is all the enemy starts to, especially Rein. I mean, Rein is the best one to do this with. The enemy will start to converge on your Rein, and then you hit him with Nano right when they're all trying to get in his face, and boom, he's now 300, 400, 500 HP, nanoed, and he's got 3 or 4 people sitting in his face to swing on. It's awesome. But this Nano was fine because you want him to be able to kill as many of those shattered targets as possible. So it was still okay. We are going to lose this, I think. Probably. That pylon is just doing work up there. Yep. And that's okay, it happens. Good positioning. Make sure you're next to those covers. I like the fact that you're going for damage when you're not having anyone to heal. A lot of Annas won't do that in lower ranks. EMP. Interesting. Yeah, a little slow to react there, but there's probably not much you're going to do to save that guy anyways unless you're already looking at him, so. At this point, it's 3v5. It's going to be pretty hard to do anything, but we're in a pretty powerful position here. They don't really have anyone that can get up to you, so we're able to do a lot here, especially against a Bastion who it's nearly impossible to miss our abilities on. Nice try on the nade. You do hit the Ana. It would have been nice if you also hit the Bastion, but it's okay. Good try on the sleep. Yep, I'm okay with all this. I like this. You're in a good position. I'm happy to see you in this position. And generally you're focusing on the right things, right? Just make sure, you know, you're looking for opportunities to use your abilities. If you're ult-tracking, you're saving your sleep or your nade if you need it for when you need it. But since we're not doing that, we're just kind of looking for any ability, any reason, any way we can use these things to get value in this fight. Right? We want to have an impact, so. But yeah. That was a good fight. Even if you didn't really do that much, it's better, right? We're looking for the right things there. We're doing some damage. Nice. It happens. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But we're doing some damage. We're looking for our abilities. We're staying in cover. Good stuff. Hopefully there's more of the same. Yeah, they press Q a lot of times. It sucks. I think you shouldn't have dropped. I'm not sure what made you drop, but yeah, we can stay up on the high ground longer. I know they have monkey. It's scary, but we can definitely stay up. I think it might have just been an accident. You might have just fallen, which happens. Accidents happen. But if it wasn't an intentional drop, just stay up next time. You'll be okay. Let's skip ahead. Looks like your team actually won that fight. I'm very surprised. I like that ante, even though you think, well, maybe no one can follow up, but your Sombra's like in there. It's hard to tell where in there, but in there. Imagine you hit like 4 people and she might be able to get a kill. Who knows? It's unlikely you're going to need the ante anyways in the next 12 seconds, so. Okay, we kind of waste our nade. As long as you realize it, it's okay. Just ask yourself, right? Right, like what's the nade gonna do? I know we're probably just hoping the bubble breaks and then it hits the monkey, but that's just a lot of hope and not a lot of like what's actually going to happen. So they're kind of feeding, which is nice. We don't even have to use our nano here. Sleep is fine. Yeah. Unfortunate. You really want that baby demon to live there. We do still have our nano. Not a great nano for obvious reasons, but I think you're just looking to get it off before the game ends. And yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, you kind of use it right as she kills the Ana. But not the worst, right? It's a good idea. Like, the last thing you want to do is let that Sojourn die, but the Ana probably had no kill potential because it takes her 3 shots to kill someone or 2 shots and a nade, so. We might actually lose this. Let's watch this out. Yeah, good stall. Not too much to say about that. They kind of C9 there? Yeah, she just walks off. So, nice job. I think the second half was a lot of the same stuff as the first half. So I'm just gonna put a recap book up on the screen of the same stuff we talked about in the first half. But it was a pretty good game for you. You know, I feel like you are your rank. And you said, let me check what you said. You said my general cooldown and ultimate usage on support feels appropriate for Master's very low GM. I don't know if I would agree with that. The problem is I don't want to say anything for sure because I haven't played on console since 2017. So in 2017, I was a diamond support on console. It's not the same game anymore. I can't say what is, you know, what is a diamond support on console versus what is a Masters GM support. I really have no idea. But there is a lot of room to improve. I don't think your cooldown usage or your ult usage is holding you back. I wouldn't say that. I definitely wouldn't say that. But I would say there is a lot of room to improve, right? And in the cooldown and ultimate usage is one of the things that like translates between PC and console, right? You don't get better at cooldown and ultimate usage by switching to a mouse and keyboard. It's all, you know, that's all game sense on when you need to be using these abilities. So there is definitely room to improve. I know on PC, I would not say that you have, you know, Master's low GM ability usage, but you very well could on console. You very well could. I'm not going to say that you don't. You said your mechanics are, you know, inconsistent. I agree. There is work to be done, but there's always work to be done on mechanics. And I think just stepping back a little bit will help your mechanics. I really do. It's hard to hit someone who's moving like across big parts of your screen. We talked about that already. Inability to adapt to higher level games in terms of positioning and team cohesion. Yeah, right. Positioning issues. Talked about it 100 times already. Don't need to rehash that. Said tank was trying to calm. We were playing too haphazardly aggressive. Felt the need to put myself in very risky positions to keep them up sometimes. So yeah, you do kind of say maybe you feel like you have to be in these positions and maybe you realize these positions aren't good, but I would say you just don't have to be in these positions, and maybe it's just a misunderstanding. You can keep them up without being in these risky positions, right? You can be in a safer position and still be able to keep them up. So it's harder when they have a Tracer, when they have a Sombra, when they have a Reddit Lucio who just wants to get in the back line and kill you, but it's still possible. You don't have to be literally inside of your Zarya like on that last fight on third point. So I have what you need to work up on screen, so I would just focus on these things. Your gameplay is good, and I just think you have some areas where you do need to improve, and then you can easily make a climb. You, for a diamond level player, you have a lot left to work on, and that's a good thing. So I got this code from the Overwatch University Reddit, but if you want to get your VOD reviewed, All you have to do is join my Discord. There's a link down below, and I do free VOD reviews for anyone in my Discord. You just have to post in the correct channel, which is pretty obvious once you go in there. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed, but more importantly, I hope you learned something today. See you in the next one.